This is Kick-Ass Kyle Storm, New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer. You like independent wrestling? You like women's wrestling? Hardcore? Shoot interviews? Check out Chop's videos. You'll love what you see.
What's up, guys? Teddy Goods here, and for all of you who are junkies of early 90s independent wrestling, especially from the New England area, I need to let you guys know about Chop's videos on YouTube. I am a subscriber, and I watch his videos frequently. Tons of NEWA stuff, Tony Rumble stuff, CWA, Primal Conflict, just all kinds of hidden gems. A few matches of myself early in my career, so check it out. Chop's videos on YouTube. Have a good one, guys.
We're here with chatting with Chopper with the Vertebreaker. How you doing, Vertebreaker?
Good. How's it going, Chop? Long time no see, bud. Awesome,
man. It's good talking to you.
You as well.
Always good to talk to the Vertebreaker. What was your first time meeting Donnie or Stallion?
Well, I actually knew Stallion well before I started wrestling. My mother had worked in a couple promotions with him, so I knew him from a little kid on. Known him for years when Primal started.
Okay, what was the first mention of Primal Conflict to you?
I was working a benefit show. I was a replacement wrestler on the show, and Stud was in the locker room, and he approached me and told me, he had this idea for this company he was starting. He had big plans for me, which at the time I kind of blew off because most promoters will blow smoke up your ass and say that kind of stuff, got big plans for you. So I was like, okay, sure. I gave him my new contact information, and he said he'd be in touch. A couple more times throughout the night, he just told me, he hyped it up, and he's like, I got plans for you. And that was really when it started, was at that benefit show, was him approaching me in the locker room and getting my info and telling me he had plans for me and wanted to use me.
Awesome. He says you were one of the first ones he was looking into to get into Primal that he wanted.
Yeah, he had told me that too as well. And, like I said, at the time, I didn't believe him. Now in retrospect, I believe him. Me and Donnie have gone through a lot together, and I love that dude. But at the time, I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But he did tell me that too, that I was one of the first guys he thought of.
Did Joe Bruin's HWF tie into Primal at the beginning in some way or form?
Well, I don't know about tie-in necessarily, but I know on one HWF show we did do an interactive little bit where basically all the guys that were going to work for Primal and all the guys that were already locked in and we were going to do Primal, we kind of congregated together and we sat in the audience through the whole show. So anybody on the show that was also a Primal worker, they came to the ring from the crowd. They sat in the crowd through the whole show. We bullshitted together, hung out together, drank together. And we did a lot of entrances from the crowd. That night I wrestled Jose, actually, and it was kind of that was when Jose was still doing the independents before Impact Inc. And I wrestled Jose that night, and Jose came out from the locker room doing his independence thing, and I came from the crowd as a Primal guy. And that's the only interaction I really remember as far as HWF and Primal. There might have been a couple other little things that I don't recall, but I'm pretty sure that was it.
Okay, a friend of yours, Joe Board, just mentioned that to us. That was his first ever independent show you had brought him to?
Yes, absolutely. That's my best friend, man. It was one of my 5 best friends. We're all a little clique together. We're all a little crew. But yeah, that was his first show, and I'll just say, from what I know, he had quite the experience that night.
Oh yeah, he spoke highly of it. He was attached to independent wrestling from that day forward.
Joe has probably seen more independent shows with me than anybody else. He's probably gone to more independent shows than most fans that I know.
Awesome. Now there was a show that aired on Primal Conflict TV. It was you versus Adam Hastley versus Thrash in a 3-way death match, death dance. It looked to be from that building, the Seekonk building.
Yeah, that's actually I don't know what agreements Donnie came to use that footage from that show, because that was actually the benefit show that I was referring to, where Donnie first approached me. Initially, that was not a Primal show. I don't know if if retroactively it became part of the Primal billing or whatever, but that wasn't a Primal show when it occurred. Primal hadn't even opened up yet. That was the benefit show. I want to say it was for I think there was a young girl who had cancer or something, some child that had cancer, if I remember correctly. And I want to say that it was Draven and Matt Storm that put on that show, if I remember correctly.
Okay, is there anything Primal related between this point and Primal Beginnings, or would you say it goes right into Primal Beginnings from there?
I know that there was some stuff involving the NEWA, but as I said, I wasn't involved with NEWA until the Primal Beginnings show, and then a couple things later on down the road. But I know that there was some interaction between Primal and NEWA at the beginning too, to lead into Primal, involving Dave Padula, I think Jiggity Jen, few of those, that little group there. I believe that they had some angles worked on an NWA show that led into the beginning of Primal.
Okay, you weren't involved with none of that though, right?
No, I had nothing to do with NEWA at that time. I hadn't worked for them yet.
Okay, I do have a tape of that. I think Stallion said that was after the first show.
It could possibly have been after. I know that it tied into Primal Beginnings. It might have been like a post show event or something like that. But I am aware that it occurred.
Yeah, it's a little foggy. I still trying to figure it out myself. I know
Yeah.
Padula got arrested and something like that because of Jen or something.
Yeah, apparently the angle was he assaulted Jen and got arrested for it. I really want to say that was pre Primal Beginnings though. I think that led into the first Primal show.
Okay, you could be right. So from there would be the first thing you did for Primal would probably be the three-way fireball match with Dave Padula and Dave Donovan.
Yeah, the my first Primal event was Primal Beginnings, and it was the Three Faces of Fireballs match.
Okay, that's the only match you did that day? Because I was told that was like a 6-hour show and they filmed multiple matches that day for some people.
That show was long as hell, man. It was like an old ICW TV taping. It was long. That was the only match that I did that night that I recall. I'm pretty sure that was the only match that I did was the Three Faces of Fireballs.
Okay, do you have any memories or stories of that night or that match or anything to do with that, anything around that show?
Yeah, so post Donnie approaching me at that benefit show, I talked to him a couple times, and then finally one day he called me up and he told me that the website was up and running, and to check it out. So I went online and I looked at it, and the main splash page was, Three Faces of Fireballs, Dave Padula versus Dave Donovan versus Vertebreaker. And the very first thought in my head was, I don't do fire. I don't do fire, man. But I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna back down from it. So I guess I'm doing fire. And when I approached the show, when I got there, I approached Donnie, and right away he comes up to me and he's like, "Don't worry, man. Padula's been practicing the fireball all weekend. He's got this." And I was like, "I'm not worried about it, man. But if he's hitting fire, I'm hitting fire too." And he's like, "Do whatever you want to do, man." And that was one thing that Donnie always said was, "Do whatever you want to do." So that was also the inaugural night of me doing the flaming leg drop. I decided that night I was like, I'm going to do a flaming leg drop, then set myself on fire, because that fit in with my character perfectly. Like Padula and Donovan trying to set everybody on fire. My character more like, man, screw it, I'll set myself on fire. So it kind of opened up a new door for me because I hadn't done fire prior to that, and after that I had no qualms with fire at all, and I actually have done it quite a few times since then.
So that was like a last minute thing you just thought of when he told you that before the match.
Pretty much, yeah. I knew I was gonna come up with some fire spot, because, like I said, my thing was I want to do fire too. Like I want to do some sort of fire spot, and I was just trying to figure out what I was gonna do, and then it clicked in my head, man. Do the fire, set your leg on fire, do a flaming leg drop or something like that. I figured my character just had to do something where he set himself on fire to do it, and the leg drop just seemed most plausible at the time, because I didn't have much experience with fire yet, so I was trying to keep it safe and still pull something off that would be different.
Oh, yeah, well, that definitely got over with the crowd in the mock squad. It was highly talked about when I first come into Primal. I know that.
Yeah, they liked it. They enjoyed it. Later on, it ended up backfiring on me once I caught fire, but that's a story for another for a different show.
All right, so unless there's anything in between there, I'd say you go on to Stop the Mayhem from there. That was on 4/29/2000.
Yeah, Stop the Mayhem was the second show. That was a weird show in itself because they were running the same night as Mayhem, and I had previously, I want to say within the 6 months approaching this date, I had started working for Mayhem, so I was booked on both shows. And honestly, I was booked on a Mayhem show first. Mayhem had booked me first, and it really boiled down to my kid's mother was pregnant at the time, and I wanted to be local because like the Mayhem show was like 5 hours away or something like that. But it was just it was a funny situation. So I talked to Donnie and I told him, I was like, look, man, I got Mayhem that night, and he said, I'll pay you double. And I was like, I really got to think about this, Donnie. So I called Randy, the promoter of Mayhem, and I told him what was going on. And I was honest with him. I said, look, man, Primal offered me double, but that's not really my deciding factor. My deciding factor is the location to my kid's mother. I really need to think about this for a while. And Mayhem said, Randy said that he'd pay me double and give me a choice of match. So I'm like, well, man, now what the hell? So I called Donnie and I was like, look, man, I was booked with them first and I don't know what to do. Donnie's like, I'll pay you double and give you a choice of the match and you can go over on whoever you want. So I was like, look, man, like, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide this in a logical way. And I'm just going to go with you, Donnie, because I need to be close to my kid's mother in case she goes into labor. But I don't want anything to do with any shoots involving Mayhem. Like, I don't want to be involved in anything that's going to speak derogatorily of them or anything that's negative of them because I have nothing but I'll continue to work for them. Turns out they didn't run any shows after that, but I'll continue to work for them. And Donnie said, yeah, that's cool. So after that, I find out the show's Stop the Mayhem, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? But that's Donnie, you know what I mean? Donnie's one to, throw wood in the fire and watch it burn, But so I called Randy, and Randy was really understanding about it. He understood that why I was making the decision that I did to go with the Primal show and not the Mayhem show. And I guess in retrospect, I made the right decision because Mayhem didn't run again after that, and Primal had its weird history that followed, So I guess I made the right decision that night.
Yeah, well, I guess that first show I kind of skipped over. The first show was supposed to be versus NEWA and taking over New England. There was the angle they were doing on that. Did you have any opinions on that part of it?
Honestly, like I knew some of it was going down beforehand. Like I knew the angle about Rocco turning on NEWA. I thought it was my opinion on it was that it was interesting because it was unexpected. Like it was really the first foray into what Donnie was doing as far as wanting to do something that was against the grain. Because very few people at that time knew enough about the kayfabe side of things to understand that Rocco even owned NEWA or know the history of NEWA and know what Donnie's history with it. And so I thought it was really cool because it was something that had a potential for growth, but at the same time, it included a select few. Like you had to be knowledgeable to know what was going on, which in a way alienated a lot of people because they didn't know, but they grew to know, So I thought it was really interesting. And then, the whole broken bottle thing with was it Ray Roy, I believe Rocco turned on NEWA by shattering the bottle over his head or whatever. I think that really led the way for what Primal was going to do. The first show seemed almost like a tryout. Like some guys didn't progress anywhere after that show. They were let go. It's a really long show. A lot of talent on the show. But it seemed to be kind of a little more extreme than even in ways it was more extreme than what Primal was going to end up doing, but in ways it wasn't. But I think it definitely opened the door for what Primal was going to become.
Others have said that was a tryout show. He was seeing who he liked and who he didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a lot of talent that like most of the guys knew wasn't going to make it past that first show. Honestly, I can't remember if that Battle Royal was the first show or the second show, but it was either Stop the Mayhem or Primal Beginning, so this will work for either one. But the Battle Royal was going really long, and it was down to like 2 or 3 guys, and they were not very good, is what I'll say. And Donnie came out, man. Donnie came out and cut the match like live. He just came out with the mic, cut the match, and told them both get out. They're fired. You'll never work here again. I know he approached a couple of boys afterward in the locker room, and he said, he told us, he's like, man, you ever see something like that happen in the ring again? You run in and you cut it. And I'm like, you want me to just run in on a match I'm not even booked in? And he goes, if it's like that, yes. so, so I mean, that'll tell you the expectations of some of the talent in the locker room. Like it was said, he was seeing who would fit and who wouldn't, because Donnie at the same time was definitely the type of guy that was going to give somebody a shot and give them an environment they felt comfortable in, and then let them decide. The rebirth of my character was there. Dallas Austin Tiger Khan, George, whatever you want to call him, he really came to light there. So Donnie, even if he didn't like it, he'd give you a chance. He'd let you either earn your own trophies or sign your own death warrant. It was up to you how you did with him.
I believe the bottle was Rocco's son, Rocco, the other Rocco.
Rock Joseph. Yeah, it could have been Rock Joseph too. Yeah, I didn't watch it, so I don't remember much of it, but I do remember the angle slightly. But yeah, it involved one of them and turning on NWA, which was interesting.
I guess he went back with the bottle and hit the low ceiling, and the bottle broke in the low ceiling before he went to hit him with it.
Yeah. Preemptive bottle break, I guess.
All right, so that second show, Stop the Mayhem, you were in a dog collar match with Kyle Storm, and it was booked as the Storm Woodshed death match or something like that.
Yeah, it was the Storm Brothers Woodshed match. So the character Vertebreaker started out as one of the Storm Brothers, actually. I couldn't use Kyle Storm, obviously, because Kyle was already Kyle Storm. So I started off as Ryan Storm, and I was working for Power League Wrestling. And I worked a couple shows as Ryan Storm, and then worked an angle where basically he snapped. Ryan Storm just snapped, and he was gone for a couple shows, and then he came back as what was the initial incarnation of Vertebreaker, which is a total different character than what he grew to become. But the initial appearance of Vertebreaker, he was one of the Storm Brothers, and that was kind of like a return match. At that point in time, Kyle and I had a lot of heat. I'll go on record as saying I probably had more heat than he did. He made numerous attempts to clear the air and to make good. And at the time, I was a young, cocky asshole and angry at the world. So I kind of kept the heat going a lot longer than necessary. But there was a little bit of heat going into that show. So yeah, we decided to call it the Storm Brothers Woodshed match. At that point in time, the heat had gotten to the point where we were able to coexist and talk, but we weren't really cool. And it was, like I said, it was me that was carrying that on longer than it needed to carry on. But yeah, it was the Woodshed death match, Storm Brothers. That's why actually at the end of the match, if I don't know if you catch it or not, I don't know what aired and what didn't, or what footage you got or what you don't, but Kyle actually picks up the microphone and calls me Kyle, and then he's like, "Yeah, that's right, I called you Kyle," because that character had been Ryan up until that point, So that's kind of where the whole kayfabe of us being brothers kind of broke. But we still, up to the point where I left New England, we were still kind of running it here and there. Whenever we had an opportunity to, we'd run it for a moment, or subtly run the brother angle. But that was really where that angle broke down. Was at the beginning of the match, I shatter the family picture over his head, and then at the end, he calls me Kyle and kind of breaks the reality of us being brothers.
And was that your first ever dog collar match?
That was my first ever dog collar match. And funny little side note, if you watch the spot where he throws me over the top rope and he's choking me, I was actually blacking out. Like the dog collar was too tight, and I didn't have any support. So I'm actually blacking out at that point. That's why the chain breaks, because I passed out, and the dead weight of my body. That's why the chain snaps at the end of the match, because I was really going out cold. I was really losing oxygen there quick.
Any other memories or stories from that show, backstage or around that show?
The only real memory I have is now I 20 years later, I don't know who was doing what or who was saying what. And Donnie's definitely the type. Donnie's the type will tell you what he needs you to hear so that you'll do what he wants you to do. But he'll always make good. Like, that's one thing I could say is Donnie's always made good on every promise he's ever made me, But I remember Kyle coming up to me, and Kyle's like, "So it's you and I in the dog collar match." He's like, "So we got to figure out how I'm going over." And I was like, "I'm going over, bud." Like, that was part of the deal of me coming to the show, was I'm going over. So me and Kyle kind of had to go approach Donnie and like, "Yo, man, so what's up? Who's going over?" And Donnie's like, "What'd you guys work out?" And I can't remember whether it was me or Donnie, but one of us came up with the idea for me and Kyle to go Broadway and go take it to a draw, and I was cool with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about going over. You know, it was more about what was said was going to happening. You know, but wasn't really about necessarily needing to go over. So we went Broadway, and that's why we decided to go to a draw that night. It was just to keep everything going, keep everything in motion. But yeah, Donnie, I think Donnie. Honestly, I think Donnie told us both we were going over to get us both on the show. But it is what it is. That's Donnie. I love that dude.
Yep. This is where I get a little foggy and don't know what goes on.
Okay.
After this, I don't know what happens. I know there's some shows. The next show I know of is the 6ix9ine show with Atlas, but there might be a show in between there or two.
Okay, so this is what I can tell you. The next show after that, I don't know who. I want to say it was Bundy. The show after that was the third show, Primal show, was me, Derek Destiny, and Butcher Brannigan in a bamboo shoot match, and that's also the show where I quit Primal. After I quit I quit Primal before the show. I told Donnie, earlier that night, no hard feelings, just don't book me anymore. But it was me, Brannigan, and Derek Destiny in a bamboo shoot match. So if you can figure out what show that show was on, that's the third show. You're muted.
No,
out, bro.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I was still muted. Sorry about that. I gotta hit the space bar. I know the third show I know of. I know that was 429 to Stop the Mayhem. I know the Bundy show was 6ix9ine in Revere. I just don't know if there was a show in between.
Probably not, because I want to say the Bundy show was the Revere show that I did. So I know. See, this is where I get foggy too, because I didn't follow Primal when I left, but I know they did at least one show without me, and I want to say that was the show that had the pit bulls on it. So I don't know if they did 2 back-to-back shows in Revere or not, because the bamboo shoot match with me and Destiny and Brannigan was in Revere. So I don't know if they did back-to-back Revere shows or what they did.
They did a show in Revere in September with the Pitbulls, Return to Wonderland.
Okay, so I want to say that was the 4th show. I want to say. So I want to say that the Bundy show was the show that I quit on. It was the last Primal show that I did, which was the 3rd show for them.
Do you know, was it the same show that the Damned walked out on?
I couldn't tell you, but I could tell you it was the first appearance of New Jack in Primal. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, no. New Jack's first appearance in Primal was when I came back at Revere. So no, it was not. I don't think. I think the only excuse me. I think the only brought in talent on the first show in Revere was Bundy. So I want to say that was the 3rd show.
So it's possible that's the only show I'm missing.
I believe so, because Return to Wonderland should have been the show after that. If my memory serves me right, there was the Bundy show where I quit. Then they did Return to Wonderland with the Pitbulls. I was not on that show. Then I came back to the next show, and that's where New Jack debuted. So I want to say they did 3 shows in Revere back to back to back.
No, they did one in between, because in November they did November Dismember, where you did the thumbtack match with Thrash.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Then they went back to Revere.
So it should have been Revere, Stars, and then Revere again. Yeah. So the King Kong Bundy show was the 3rd show. That's the last show I worked for them for. I guess I only missed 1 show.
Yeah, and I only missed 1 show, the Bundy show, by the looks of it. You missed the show I have, and I missed the show that you quit.
Yep. Sounds
by
about
the
right.
looks of it.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
I've been trying to figure this out. It's pretty hard from video, even the videos, because you only get like half a show. You don't get full show when you get the video,
Right.
Putting a puzzle together.
Yeah, and I wish I could, 10 years ago, I probably could have told you every Primal show right in a row, dates, who worked what, but I've been away. It's something I haven't focused on in so long. This is all refreshing my memory too.
Well, it's not only that, there was cancellations, because that show was supposed to be with Tony Atlas on another date. I forget. I got it written down somewhere, because Palladino announces it at Stop the Mayhem, but it didn't end up being there. And then they rescheduled it for the Bundy show or whatever.
Yeah, Primal was plagued with cancellations, man. Like that's why I think it's funny that one show with the Dreamer Sandman show at Club Stars. I can't believe that show actually happened because there's like 10 feet of snow outside, like and we packed that house, man. We sold it out. Like it's crazy. But yeah, we were plagued with cancellations, man. Plagued with cancellations and reschedules.
That's what hurt it bad, I think.
Me too. I because it kills your momentum. You know what I mean? It kills your momentum. It kills your steam. And then a lot of people don't hear about the new date coming up because a lot of your fans hear about the show at the previous show. So that show doesn't happen now. They don't have a way to, follow through. Especially in 2000, because I mean the internet that's when the .com boom was just going. Not everybody had internet. It wasn't mandatory yet. So people that was a big factor in the company getting hurt.
Yeah, it wasn't like now where it was in your pocket. You actually had to go look for it.
Exactly.
But yeah, the cancellations and just I don't know. I think the Mock Squad should have been catered to. I would have been powdering their bottoms.
I do too, man. Like I said earlier, you've got to take care of your fans. Like your fans take care of you. Take care of your fans, man. Like, because really, what are you without your fans? And that's what people forget, man. You can run all those wrestling shows you want. If you ain't got a fan in the building, what do you got? You got a bunch of backyard wrestlers.
Right. I'm not knocking Donnie, but I don't think Donnie realized what he had there. I think he should have took them on,
Yeah, Donnie was young. Donnie was young doing his thing, and you got to understand we were all at an age where we all had a little bit of ego, and thought we could conquer the world by ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, so in retrospect, do I think Donnie could have catered to the fans a little bit more? Yeah, but at the same time, Donnie did a lot for the fans that nobody even recognizes. You know what I mean? Like, just the company, like nobody understands the heat that Donnie took behind the fucking scenes just to make sure the fans had a show to watch.
Right. Like I said, I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no,
I don't think it was realized they'll be there. I don't think he's noticed them slowly tapering away and little things he could have done. I think he did do other things that's why they were there, because he did things, you know what I mean? But
yeah, it's always that hindsight is 2020 type of thing. You know what I mean? Like you realize later on, oh man, like I should have done this, I should have done that. I think that's a disease that all wrestlers or people in the company or in the industry are plagued by. Is I could have done that differently, from the performers right down to the promoters. But yeah, I agree totally. There were definitely elements of neglect on the company's part as far as the fans went.
But the cancellations were a big deal, and moving buildings was hurt a lot. Half of that wasn't his fault, but just a lot of that hurts. Every time you do that once, you lose one or two fans, and just hurt.
Yep, exactly, man. It all played its part.
And then Sandman, I wasn't there, but Sandman was all trash at that show and all that. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, because I got some funny anecdotes about that show.
All right, so the Wonderland show, the Bundy show. What do you want to get into on the Bundy show?
Well, the Bundy show is actually where I quit Primal. So looking at it from my perspective, there's the very first Primal show, which was interesting. The second Primal show, Stop the Mayhem. I wasn't really. I won't put the fault on Kyle or myself. I just don't think that match was all that it could have been. I do think that the way Dave Donovan and Padula ended that show was amazing. Never seen anything like that before, where Donovan was just laid out. Lights going down, ring crew starting to tear down the ring, and he's still in the ring out cold. It kind of set up this whole. It showed you that we were there to entertain you, because everybody knows there's no way a wrestler's going to be knocked out cold in the ring and just laying there while the ring crew's taking the ring down. But at the same time, it showed you it went a little above what everybody else was doing to this extreme level of man, this dude's laid out and the building's closing down and he's still just out cold. It showed the violence that was going to progress, and was to come. But overall, the show still wasn't fantastic as far as an overall product. It hadn't reached its greased wheels motion yet, So going into Wonderland, being booked in that bamboo shoot match, it's not that I had a problem doing the bamboo, even though that shit hurts. I just didn't feel as though I had much direction in the company at that moment in time. I don't know what Donnie had planned for me that, he was keeping under his belt or whatever, but I didn't feel much in the way of my direction. I didn't feel like a bamboo shoot match had much opportunity for me to show what my talents were, and then you got Derek Destiny, who I love that dude, wrestled him hundreds of times, but hardcore wasn't his element, and he didn't enjoy doing hardcore. So you got Brannigan, that was his kind of match. He'd already done one with Thrash. It was perfect for him. So I just told Donnie not to book me anymore. So there was no hard feelings, no animosity. I just didn't like the direction. Plus, I was working for another company at the time that wasn't paying me quite like Donnie was, but I had more opportunity. They were more locked in. They had more footing in New England. They were doing more shows. So to me at the time, it seemed like a better opportunity just to be openly available to them as opposed to doing this Primal shows. So I quit Primal at that time. Went out there. The match was what it was, man. The two highlights I remember from that match is one point in time, Brannigan hit me with the bamboo shoot, and dude, I lost all feeling in my legs for probably about 5 to 6 seconds. Like it dropped me, like I collapsed, couldn't feel my leg for a minute, caught a stinger. The other thing I remember about the match was I basically backhanded Butcher Brannigan with a bamboo shoot right in the face, and I felt horrible about it after. We were doing a spot where a duck, whatever, turn around and hit him. And the way I spun around, I just backhanded him with the bamboo shoot in my hand, and it, like, hit him in the cheek. And he was a trooper, man, because he didn't complain about it or nothing. Wasn't like, man, that was stiff. He didn't say nothing about it. But I can't imagine what it was like to take a backhand with a bamboo shoot right in the face, man. That must have been rough.
He's somebody I've been trying to get a hold of. I haven't been able to.
He's a great dude, man. Brannigan's a great dude. His brother was an amazing guy too. The Reverend there. Great guy. Love talking to them in the locker room. Great people, man. They're great people. I hope you do get a hold of him because he's a really good dude.
Why was he called them bamboo shoots rather than Singapore canes?
Well, because a Singapore cane, if you're referring to like a kendo stick, is actually pieces of bamboo that are tied together. And like the thing about them is they hurt to a degree, but they bend. They're pliable. The tighter you bring them up, the tighter they are, the stiffer they are. So you can notice in wrestling, they'll bring that loop all the way down, and they'll actually, if you watch in slow motion, they bend over the head when they hit them. It's a stiff shot, but it's not gonna knock you out. We were using straight bamboo shoots. They weren't cut. They weren't tied into it. They were just stalks of bamboo, which when they snap, when they hit you, just they're rough to begin with because bamboo is really hard. But it's not like they were green and wet. They were dried bamboo, and they were just long, like probably 8-foot shafts of bamboo that were whole. And so that's why we call them bamboo shoots and not Singapore canes, because Singapore cane is actually pieces of bamboo tied together into a blunt sword almost, whereas these were just stalks of bamboo.
So they didn't have the slices down them vertically. They were just solid. Well, they were hollow, but they didn't have the slices down them.
Yeah, there was no slices in them. There was no gimmick in them. They were just straight from wherever the hell you buy bamboo. They were just straight stalks of bamboo. Stiff.
Oh, okay.
They were stiff.
So the Return to Wonderland show we already covered. You weren't at that.
Nope, that was while I was gone.
I believe the next show after that was November to December back at Club Stars.
Yep, that November to December at Club Stars. That was honestly, man, that was like the renaissance. That was the rebirth of my character. That was where everything for both Primal and myself really started to kick into motion and really start to take hold.
Yeah, this is we got you against Thrash and Thumbtack match. They had the open invitational Bunko Stampede. I believe this was the debut of Nemesis and Jamie Payne on this card, I think.
Yes, I believe that was the debut of Nemesis and Payne. they were brought in. They were Flosky guys. They were brought in, I believe, on that show. That was where they debuted. I worked Thrash in the Thumbtack match, which was the whole thing was interesting to begin with. A lot of people thought there was going to be heat between me and Thrash, some personal heat because of personal life situations, but there wasn't any. I've never had any heat with Thrash. I've loved every match I've done with him, and I've worked him more after situations occurred than I did previously. But that match was different, man. Somebody had tied the thumbtacks in a canvas bag with a zip tie, so we had no way to get the tacks out of the bag, man. I tried biting it open, tried ripping it open. Thrash tried to bite it open, rip it open. I finally ended up getting a knife from a member of the crowd to cut the bag open. So there was there was a pop when the bag of thumbtacks opened because we had a lot of thumbtacks in there, and there'd been so much almost build up to the thumbtacks getting poured out because we couldn't get the bag open.
I was gonna say it must have been bad when you couldn't get them open. Everybody must have been getting upset, but it was probably almost made better build up to it.
I do feel as though it helped the build up. I mean, because both Thrash and I, we kind of worked it into the match. Like I couldn't get it open, so I just bashed him over the head with a bag of thumbtacks. He did a couple things to me just using the bag, as we tried to get it open. That show really, like I said, that was the rebirth of my character because when I walked into that show and saw the crowd, like it was a big crowd, and we hadn't had a crowd that size up to that point that I know of anyway. Maybe on the show that I was gone, we did. But that was the show that really had a crowd there that really was into the show. And when I came out and they announced me, like the crowd popped, and I couldn't believe the pop that I got. Like it was not expected, man. Like I didn't know I had fans like that, and I didn't know Primal had fans like that. And then all of a sudden they announced my name, and the crowd popped, and I really felt it, man. And that's what kind of gave me that drive to really make this a good match. And it just kind of progressed from there. Crowd really dug the match.
Now, is that more the style you were looking for when you left? You said you weren't doing what you wanted to do. Was that more up your alley, what you wanted?
Yeah, I love thumbtacks. I love doing thumbtacks matches because the risk in it is very minimal compared to most matches that you do hardcore, and it really gets the crowd, man. Because you step on a thumbtack and it hurts, so you figure getting slammed into 5,000 of them sucks, But I like thumbtacks matches, but especially with Thrash in that match, I was able to incorporate my wrestling style while using the thumbtacks. So it fit more into what I was doing and what I was capable of doing. So I definitely enjoyed doing that match. Definitely enjoyed it. And it, like I said, it was definitely one of the first times I ever felt fully comfortable in the ring with the crowd there and felt like things were working out and things were going the way they should be going.
I've always felt like thumbtacks, everybody knows what a thumbtack feels like. So it's something they can relate to. And it's something you can see when they do. And it's also something controlled. Like fire isn't controllable. A thumbtack is, and it's something you can see visually, and it's something you know in your mind what it feels like.
Exactly. Like I was saying, you step on a thumbtack and you're like, and you got to get it out. So everybody in the crowd relates to it. Everybody stepped on a thumbtack or something, close to that. So they know the pain that comes with thumbtacks. And like you said, they're controlled. There's not a lot of risk in thumbtacks. You risk concussions with chair shots. Tables don't always break, and that's when they hurt. Any objects you get hit with can go wrong. Cut you open, give you a concussion. But thumbtacks are very controlled. You can kind of place them where you want them, so to speak. Like it's a lot easier to give that visual, and they're shiny, so the crowd can see them. They see them stuck in your back. Especially most guys at that time were wearing black, so you're wearing a black shirt or whatever, and you've got 50, 60 shiny thumbtacks sticking out of your back. It gives that visual, and then the crowd relates that to their own experience with thumbtacks, and it becomes more believable.
Right. But it is believable at the same time. It's very real and believable, but it's very controlled at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love thumbtacks. I would never ever turn down the opportunity to do a thumbtack match just because of the reaction it gets and the controllability of it and the very little minimal risk as compared to other things.
I have never been a fan of the fire. Fire is something you cannot control.
Fire can be controlled to a degree, but yeah, it definitely has that element of fire can get out of control very fast. It can. I mean, I've had my experience with that. Jamie Payne as well. I'm sure numerous wrestlers that have tried fire have had bad experiences with it. Fire can be scary. You just got to respect it. You got to know what it's about and keep it very minimal if you can.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't use it. You can use it in small doses, but you got to respect it. You can't control it. You can know, hey, it's going to be small. I'm going to keep it small, but don't mess with it too much, you know?
Yeah, my suggestion for fire, anybody that wants to do fire, is learn about it, man. Learn about it and like really research it. Being a cocky young wrestler, I didn't do much research before I started doing fire. Um, that backfired on me, no pun intended. But yeah, you definitely know what you're getting into. Know what you're doing, know what you're messing with, and you must have precautionary measures in place. Like make sure you got fire extinguishers, people that know fire around. That way, if something goes wrong, it's covered up quickly. Safety team.
That's what I was just going to say. Have something there. More often than not, you see people doing fire spots and there's nothing there to even, what if it goes wrong? Like the Nick Gage spot. There's nothing there. He rolls and he's rolling 6 feet off the ground and they don't even have nothing there. Water, fire extinguisher, nothing. It's
What's actually funny? You bring up the Nick Gage spot. Was I was watching that match with a friend of mine, and it was the match was interspersed with Nick Gage documentary. And as soon as he got caught on fire, I looked at my friend and I said, stop, drop, and roll. That shit don't work. And then right after that, they cut to Nick Gage, and he's like, "Stop, drop, and roll. That shit don't work." And I thought it was funny because it doesn't, man. It doesn't work. Well, it depends. I guess it depends on what body part and what your accelerant is. You know what I mean? Like maybe if you accidentally just caught on fire slightly, it does. But when you're using lighter fluid as an accelerant, it doesn't work, man. You need to have precautionary measures in place.
right. And you have to be flat on the ground. Like you can't be like he was like foot off the ground. You can't do that. You got to be totally flat and put it out with the ground, you know?
Yeah, you have to be able to smother the fire. And usually when you're on fire, you're in a panic mode, so you're not thinking slow down. Everything's rapid because you want to get it out, and that was my problem, which we'll talk about later. But I was in panic mode, just trying to get it out. So
I think most people are in panic mode when they're on fire.
yeah, ironically, the very first thought I had when I was on fire was I thought in my head, I was like, man, I don't want to spend my night like this. Like it was going to be an all night event. Like I was going to go home, kick back on the couch, watch TV. My leg's still on fire. Like really, I wish my leg was out. It was yeah, panic mode. You don't think clearly, man. Panic mode. You're not thinking clearly.
So that same show with the thumbtack match, I believe that was the first one John Cronus was at.
It might well have been. Trying to remember because Cronus did a lot with a lot of the independents once he left ECW because he was from Boston, so he did a lot of work with a lot of the independents. But I do believe that might have been John's first show with us. Yes.
Any thoughts or memories of John Cronus around the Primal dressing room or anything?
John, man, John was an amazing guy. He one of the most approachable guys in the business. Like one of my first memories of John was just him. He had his son or at a show, and he just got in the ring and was wrestling around with his son. Really interactive with his kid. But then him and New Jack were very friendly with my sons too. They would pick him up, carry him around the locker room. They're very friendly to him. John in the ring and John out of the ring was two different people, man. John was a great guy, funny, joked around, good guy, man. But when he got in the ring, he was a beast. I love John.
I don't think No Jack had been at a Primal show up till this point, had he?
No, New Jack hadn't been there yet. I'd known Jack from some other shows, and a couple of times I went to ECW, talked to a couple guys that I knew there. So I had had prior interactions with New Jack, but no, New Jack didn't show up for a little while to the company.
So I think after that was Extreme Execution on January 21st at Club Stars?
Nope, we missed the second Revere show. Well, the show after Club after that was Revere.
Yeah,
That was where
Primal Mania in December 1st.
Yeah.
You got my papers confused. Yeah.
After Primal, after we do Primal Mania, I'm gonna have to take a little break. We can either continue on in a little bit, or we can finish up tomorrow. I just got to go do a couple things, get these kids are riled up.
Okay,
But,
that's fine.
But yeah, we can continue in a little while or tomorrow, whatever you want to do, whatever's best for you.
All right, man. All right, so after that, we had Primal Mania. That was in Revere on December 1st, I believe.
Yep. That would have been a four-way dance. Me, PR Kid, Tiger Khan, and Kevin Charisma.
Yep. Yeah, for the light heavyweight, Charisma was defending.
Yep. That was the night of my fire incident. Yep. It was I was glad to be back in Primal. It was cool to be in Revere because I love that building. Right before, we were being announced. There was no fire spot planned that night. No fire spot planned. But that was the night New Jack came back. Well, that was the night New Jack came to Primal. John Cronus returned. They were running the whole angle with New Jack and Jamie Payne and Nemesis. So it wasn't so much like trying to beat ECW, but with ECW guys on the show, there's a certain air. There's a certain element to the show. So the crowd the crowd that's coming to see those guys is going to want to see more extreme stuff. So I remember PR Kid's music hit and he went out. Kevin Charisma, that's my best friend, man. That's my dog right there. Charisma went out, and as Charisma was going out, I looked at George Tiger Khan, and I said, "How do you feel about fire, bro?" And he looked at me and said, "I trust you with anything, bro." I said, "All right, man." So I went, I grabbed the lighter fluid out of my backpack, and I said, "I'll let you know when it's coming, bro." So we tried to keep that match psychologically where you could always, highlight one person in the ring. So we had these guys working on the ring, these guys are working on the outside, switch up, whatever. Just trying to keep it like almost old school where you're not detracting from what's really going on. Came time for the spot, slammed George down, and I said, "Here it comes, bro." Got the lighter fluid, and I poured way too much lighter fluid on my leg. And as you know, my gear, I had frayed up jeans. Poured way too much lighter fluid on my leg. Hit the lighter, and I saw everything from my hip to my calf go up. And my only thought was, well, got to do what I got to do. So I hit the leg drop. After the leg drop, I got up and I tried to put my leg out with my hands padded out, and it just wouldn't go out, man. It would not go out. So my fear was if I stopped, dropped, and rolled in the ring, that the ring was canvas and it had holes in it. I didn't want to set the ring on fire. So I rolled out of the ring and I hit the floor and I stopped, dropped, and rolled, and I still didn't go out. So now I got my hands in the fire and I'm trying to put it out, and my tape's melting to my hands. And it was quite the experience, man. So my tape's melting to my hands, and then finally my leg goes out. I finally, between patting it out and rolling, it went out. And I was just laying there with my hands underneath me, and I was just kind of laying there, and my hands, man, they were on fire. They plastic tape just melted to them. And I remember trying to decide whether I was going to finish the match or just call it, And I said, I got a job to do. So I just laid there and I just waited for the cue. Finally, the cue came. I slid in the ring, did the finishing spots, took the match home, and went to the locker room. And had a big, one of the guys actually who was watching the match had gotten ready one of those giant tubs you put ice in for beer. He had gotten one of those ready because he saw what happened. So that was ready for me in the locker room when I got there. And I put my hands in the bucket of ice, and literally it steamed off like a pot of tea, like, and steam came up, And I stayed like that for a little while, man. Just holding my hands in the ice. Luckily, one of the guys, I'm not going to mention any names for their sake, he was an ex-nurse. The only thing was he had let his license lapse. So he's like, "Bro, I can help you, but we got to keep it on the down low." We didn't know if fire was coming. We didn't know if police were coming, or we didn't know what was going on with what had happened, So we went in the ladies' locker room. We asked the girls if we could use their locker room. One of the girls said yes, and she actually stood guard outside the ladies' locker room. He handed me 3 Percocets. I chewed them up and I drank a beer. And he said, "This is gonna hurt, bro." And he injected my hands with Novocaine, and he rebuilt my hands like Luke Skywalker, man. Cut away the dead skin, got all the plastic tape out of my hands. He rebuilt my hands right there in the locker room, dude. And I'm forever thankful for that. And because he could have gotten in a lot of trouble had anybody found out. You know, he was practicing medicine without his license, but he helped me out, man. He did a lot for me that night, and wrapped my hands up, and that was that, man. That was the. It was a crazy night.
Oh, that sounds crazy. I've seen it on video, and I know it looked pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what blew my mind on the video was how you can actually see the lighter fluid splashing off my leg while I was pouring it. I don't know why I don't know why I didn't stop pouring it when it started splashing. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it was intense, man. It was definitely intense. And I remember this kind of going to the next show, but a couple nights after that show, I called Donnie and we were talking, and I asked him what the plans for were the next show, and he said, "It's you and Khan for the light heavyweight title." And I said, "Cool, what are we doing?" And he said, "That's your belt, bro. You earned it. That's your belt, bro." And I said, "I got to do it again, Donnie." And he said, "Do what again?" And I said, "Set myself on fire. Then nobody's gonna expect that shit to happen. I got to do it again." And he said, "I fucking love you, man." And that was that was how the fire really kind of became a prominent position in my career, was because of that incident where I got set on fire and then decided to keep doing it because I knew that nobody would expect it. And that's why we worked in the whole cutoff spot, but that's story for the next show. But yeah, that's how the fire incident went down that show. I remember sitting in the locker room with my hands in the ice, and I watched 2 of the executives from Revere walk by, and one said to the other, he goes, "This is where it happened. I thought it was movie fire." What the fuck is movie fire? What the fuck is movie fire, man? I don't know what it is, but if you can show me that shit so I don't have to really set myself on fire anymore, that'd be great. You know?
Yeah, I think it was the same way with the Jamie spot. If you watch that, how much lighter fluid they put on that table, and then they didn't even wait. Like, you're supposed to put it on and then wait so it like dries a little bit. Like, they put on a ton and then threw them right away. Like, that's what went wrong in that. If you watch it on video.
Yeah, that's the problem with the Jamie Payne spot is when you set it on fire, like, so lighter fluid burns cold, you know, like you can hold it and it doesn't burn you. But if it soaks into something, it's obviously going to burn whatever it soaks into. So when you light it, you can watch the fire travel. You know, you need to wait till all of that lighter fluid is ignited, so that way there's no splashback. Like you said, they poured it, lit it, and went right into the spot. So all that fluid was still there, splashed onto Jamie, got soaked into his shirt, and up he went. You know, now you got cloth burning, and thank God for George that night, man. George is the guy that jumped on Jamie and tried to put him out. Thank God he was there, you know, and thank God he had you know the right state of mind to know like something's going too far and to jump in, you know, because usually when you're involved in the wrestling industry and you see things happen, you always automatically defer to it's a work and the show's got to go on, you know. So to have that knowledge that it's a work, sometimes you don't jump in for the assist, you know. So I thank God that he was in the right state of mind, that he knew like this is going too far. That dude needs to get put out, and he jumped on him. George was a great guy, man. He's passed away, but he was like family to me, and our family has long history, and I'm just thankful he was there that night to help Jamie out, man.
I believe this was New Jack's debut in Primal, and Cronus was there also.
You talking about the Revere show? Yes, yeah. Primal Mania, yes. That was New Jack's debut.
Any memories or stories of them backstage that night, or anything going on that night there?
Well, one of my memories is like I said, New Jack and John were always playing with my son, but when I got burnt, Jack said, "Man, keep your hands in the ice." Jack was. We ended up having heat later, but Jack was really helpful that night. Like he talked to me about like what to do with my hands and make sure they were safe. But the real thing that I remember about that night was the element of surprise for the crowd, because that's where the whole mass transit incident occurred, was in Revere. And all I remember is New Jack saying, they were talking about the match, and he said, "Look, man, you guys do your thing. My music's gonna hit. The first thing the crowd's gonna fucking do is pop. I want you to look back at that gate and say, oh, that fucking nigger ain't here,' and keep going, and then I'll come out, you know." And it was really good thinking on Jack's part to know that element of the crowd's gonna know who he is. They're gonna know his music, but they also know what a swerve is. So when Nemesis looks back and goes, "That nigger ain't here," and then it goes back to the match, they almost think they got swerved. And then here comes the trash can full of weapons. You know, I thought it was a really well planned out debut for New Jack.
Yeah, Cronus and Astro Man had a bloodbath that night. They were pouring blood everywhere.
Yeah, Astro Man. That's one thing I'll say is Astro Man could get down with the hardcore and the blood, and him and Cronus, they went all the way that night, man. They poured it out for that show.
That night also had Britt Baker, Brickhouse Baker, and Striker on it. Do you have any memories about them?
So Striker was one of Baker's students, if I remember correctly. I was really surprised that Baker was there because so Baker, I've known Baker for years too. I've known Baker since before I wrestled. Got a lot of respect for him. He's one of the best local homegrown talents out there. He really is. Baker's amazing. He's a great guy, great talent, super knowledgeable about what wrestling is and how to do it. And he's put out some really good students. But he was Yankee Pro grown, man. He was he was one of their core guys. But he's got a really good relationship with Jose. So Jose was able to finagle break Baker getting off that show, from what I gather, getting onto that show with the okay of Yankee Pro. I'm not quite sure of the logistics on the Yankee Pro side, but I was really surprised that to see Baker working a show that wasn't a Yankee show. And then having a student on it as well was pretty interesting. Striker, I've worked a lot with Striker, and Striker's a good guy too.
Do you have any thoughts on Mark Thunder in these early days?
I've got thoughts on Mark Thunder from back then, and I've got retrospective thoughts on Mark Thunder. Mark Thunder, I think, was a great talent. It was definitely interesting for Donnie to book him as the champion for that short amount of time. When Mark Thunder quit because of a concussion, my first thought was that he was a pussy. You know, like, you're in a full contact industry, you know what the sport entails. Why are you wrestling if you're afraid of a concussion? In retrospect, looking at the dangers of concussions now and what we know now, maybe he was a little ahead of his time. Maybe he was a little smarter than people gave him credit for. So on a personal level, I think Mark Thunder did what was best for Mark Thunder, and that's what you need to do in your life, is do what's best for you. On a professional level, I think Mark Thunder was a great talent that could have gone much further than he did had he stuck with the business.
Yeah, I talked to him. He said he was like on the cusp of getting an ECW. He was on talks with them and stuff, tryouts for him.
I don't know. I can't confirm or deny that. I know he was looking at doing some things. I know a few guys at that time were in talks with ECW due to their connections with people that they knew in ECW, or with their in-ring talents. They were getting chances, or slated to get chances. I can't deny or confirm that Mark Thunder was one of them, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was.
Right. He either was or he was being told that, one of the, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I don't think he's outright lying about it. It was definitely either he was being misled or he really was. I would venture to say he was. I don't see why not. He had the ability. He had the in-ring ability.
That's probably a good place to end if you want to end there and pick it up.
Yeah, we can do it. Hey, whenever's good for you. It doesn't have to be now. Is there any way I can get a copy of this?
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know if you want it edited or how you want to do it.
Whichever one's easiest for you. If it's easiest for you to edit it and then send it to me, or whichever one's best for you, I'm cool with.
I don't even know how to send it or any of that, so I'd have to look into it. You know what I mean? I haven't done it yet, but I can give you a copy. It's going to be on my page, however you want to do it. But of course, you can have a copy.
Cool. I didn't know if you were gonna, I didn't know if you were going to do it as an interview, or if you were just going to cut it up for the Primal thing. So that's why I was like, well, I might as well have a copy.
I haven't really. Originally, I was just going to get like little snippets, like minute saying this or that, and it's just turned into so much more than that. That I don't even know what most of these are turning into like total shoots pretty much. You know,
It'll come to you though, man. You'll figure out what to do with it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing,
Right.
like we were talking about. Sit on it and just
I
let it
want
roll.
more. I'd rather have way more than not enough. So I want to do
Absolutely, bro.
more, and maybe I'll even take snippets out and then turn it into a full interview after or something. I don't know.
That's that's I mean that's always a good idea too. You know, you can use the little snippets for the Primal documentary, and then you saw what they had to say. Now see the whole thing. You know, like
Right, I'm gonna do some kind of bonus thing at the end, no matter
right
what.
now tentatively. I don't have anything planned for tomorrow. Do you want to hit some more shit tomorrow?
Yeah, we can hit some more shit tomorrow. We just
Okay,
wrapped
whatever's
up
best for you.
2000, so that's why I said that's a good place to stop, and then we can pick up 2001 tomorrow.
Oh yeah, because it was 3 months in was the anniversary show. Yeah, so yeah. That's perfect. That's perfect, bro.
We'll plan on that and just hit me up tomorrow.
We'll do,
Be
my man.
awesome.
I'll hit you up earlier in the day and let you know what my schedule is looking like, and then we'll go at it whenever we figure out it's a good time.
Yeah, just try to keep me informed as like when it is, you know what I mean? So I can be ready.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Hey, man, it was great talking to you.
Hey, good talking to you, man. Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you, bro. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, bro.
All right, bro. Later.
Peace, man.
Hello, wrestling fans. This is Brickhouse Baker, 2008 New England Hall of Famer. I need you people to do me a favor. I need you to go to Chops Video and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Again, that's Chops Videos. Go check this out because this guy's got some really good stuff from back in the day. Peace out. I am the Underground King, SWB, New England Hall of Famer, Tesla Strength founder and head coach. Looking for classic wrestling videos featuring New England Hall of Famers and legends? Check out Chops Videos on YouTube.